G'day and welcome to Scott Grows an Avocado Tree. My name is Scott and today we've got a very exciting video planned. You see, I've been growing this tree from seed for the last 6 months or so using the water and toothpick method. And just look at those roots. You'll notice that it's got 2 stems. That's because this is a polyembryonic seed. It doesn't really matter too much. If I wanted to kill off one of them, I could keep pruning it right back at the seed until it stopped growing, or I could try and separate it. But this is going to be an indoor plant. I'm not too fussed about it. So we're going to get this in soil. Let's get to it. There are a few things that I'm going to need for this project. So I'm going to need to start with a container to put the avocado tree in. Now, I am going with a terracotta pot. Note that it does have a drainage hole. That is really important because avocados don't like to have too moisture-logged soil. They love their aerated, oxygenated soil, and they're super susceptible to root rot. If we don't provide adequate draining, this tree is going to die of root rot fairly quickly. And so terracotta, with its being porous, having this drainage hole, is going to be the perfect container for this tree. It's also actually not too much larger than the root ball here. Now this root ball does look very long because they're long, but they're long roots, but they will be pushed together a little bit more and they will fill this pot out beautifully. The reason why it's not too much larger is because if it is too much larger, then there's going to be pockets where moisture is just sitting, and that's not helpful for the tree long term either. It's in those kinds of environments that fungus that causes root rot will grow. Now I'm going to need my soil. Now I actually mix my own soil. So to do that, I'm going to need a mixing bowl, just some general potting mix, perlite, and some peat moss. The reason why I've got these additional materials is because I want to create a well-draining and slightly acidic soil. Adding perlite is going to make water drain a lot easier, so I'm not going to get water sitting around the roots causing root rot. And the peat moss is going to add a bit of acidity to the soil, which avocado trees really love. I'm going to mix these together in the bowl, about 1 part of each. So I'll have 1/3 potting mix, 1/3 perlite, and 1/3 peat moss. And then I'm going to mix it all up. I'll throw in a little bit of fertilizer just to help it continue to grow. And then I'll be putting it in the pot. Let's get to it. I actually like to throw a little bit of water in at this point just because the peat moss and perlite are often very, very dusty and I don't want to breathe any of that in. Then just using a trowel like a mixing spoon, I'm just going to give that a good mix. Okay, so I have mixed that all up. I've got a nice mix, and I'm actually going to throw in a little bit of slow release fertilizer to this mix. I just like to do that so that it really does support the growth of the tree. Okay, now that I have mixed that up, I'm ready to add this soil to the pot. So I'm just going to add it all in. Not quite all of it actually. I'm going to just fill the bottom, and then I want to kind of get as much as I can the soil around the roots of this. So I'm just going to fill it a little bit, and now I'm going to put the avocado seed in, then I'm going to backfill. So I put in the rest of the potting mix so that it fills in around the roots. And so I'm ready to prepare the seed now for planting. So I'm going to gently take it out. I don't want to damage any of the roots, so I need to be quite careful here. And as you can see, oh, look at those, glorious. I'm going to take out the toothpicks. I don't need them anymore. And a lot of people get a little bit confused about where to put the seed. So I generally just sit mine kind of at soil level. It does not matter if it is buried. Some people put it slightly above the soil. The roots go below the ground. That's really the important bit. So I'm going to have it that the stems are above, the roots are below. So I'm going to kind of half bury the seed. So I'm going to make a bit of a hole now, and I'm going to, the roots are going to get a little bit bent here. That's not a huge problem though, because they are quite long. They've been in this long container. If I wanted to use a taller pot, I absolutely could, but this is what I've got. So now that that is in there, I'm just going to start throwing in more soil. I'm really getting my fingers in there to poke it around so that it is filling in between the gaps of those roots. I don't really want any gaps. My to give the pot a little bit of a tap just to make sure that the soil is all settled. And that is looking pretty good. We're pretty well there actually. Now I need to give it a water, and I do that to settle the soil. There's currently still going to be some big gaps, so I give it a really good drink to start with, and I do that with any plant that you plant, just so that the soil settles around the roots nicely. And then I'm going to be watering it, not that frequently, but I'll talk about that in just a moment. So to water it, I'm going to need a watering can, and I'm going to mix a little bit of sea salt in, just a seaweed solution. It is really good for plant health. I use sea salt whenever I am transplanting a plant, and I use it fairly regularly on them in between that, so maybe monthly or maybe every second month. I'm just going to throw a little bit of that in there, and then I'll fill up the can. I'll try not to get it on myself. And I'm actually going to take it off its saucer, and I'm just going to give it a really good drink. It's going to be running out the bottom. That is fine. Then once I've let it drain enough, it can go inside. So I'm going to give it a good water now. And there we go. So from here, to ensure that it doesn't get root rot, which is the most common cause of avocado problems, and that's caused by a fungus in the soil actually eating away at the roots. And that fungus loves to live in a moist, oxygen-deprived environment. And so to do that, so to avoid that, I'm going to make sure that this soil completely dries out before I water it. That way that gives it a chance to continually get more oxygen in there, essentially. So I'm going to give it a good drink every so often when it is dry, and I use my moisture meter to check the moisture levels of this. So I'm only going to water when it is properly dry in there. And that's pretty well it. At some point I'll probably need to stake these trees so that they grow straight and tall. I'm going to have these in a sunny position inside. If you want to keep them outside, that's also fine. They like bright spots, but they don't like too much direct sun, especially if you live in a warmer climate, because that can cause sunburn to the leaves and to green trunks. They love warmer weather, so if you're in a very cold place, you might need to consider keeping these guys inside or in a greenhouse during the winter time. And I think I'm going to finish it there for today. So in this video, we have planted an avocado tree in soil. Now, I've actually taken a time lapse of this tree growing, and I'm going to leave it going for a little bit longer just to show that it does do okay in the pot. And that's going to be available on my channel at some point in the near future. So please do make sure you're subscribed to Scott Grows an Avocado Trees so as to not miss that update or any other avocado updates. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful, insightful. And if you end up planting your avocado tree in soil, please do tag me on Instagram at Scott Grows an Avocado Tree, because I would love to see it. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you next time.
Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree. Scott grows an avocado tree.